My Hero Academia is back! Hello everyone, and yes, My Hero Academia has returned with Season 7, Episode 1. Well, technically it's been back for like a month now, but those were all recap episodes. But now we're back in full swing with the anime adaptation of Star and Stripe vs Shigaraki. Before we begin, if you like this video and want to see more like it, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel as it really helps out. My Hero Academia is owned by Kohei Horikoshi, Shueisha, and Studio Bones. Please support the official release when you can. This episode is titled In the Nick of Time, a big-time maverick from the West, and adapts chapters 329 to 331 of the manga. The episode actually starts out with an anime original scene of Deku back at his dorm in UA. He has a flashback to the end of last season where Uraraka gave her speech about letting Deku back into UA. Besides that, the scene doesn't really contribute much and just exists to remind the viewer of last season's events. After that, we get the brand new Season 7 opening, which is titled For Someone Else's Sake and is sang by TK, who also sang Unravel from Tokyo Ghoul, which I mean, man, My Hero Academia is on a roll when it comes to the artists who sing the openings. Last season they got Super Beaver and even Eve to do both openings, and now we have TK. In terms of animation and art, I really like this opening and it has some really nice foreshadowing for future events, though I'm not so sure on the song. But I've said the exact same thing about every My Hero opening since like Season 3 and I always end up coming around to them, so who knows. After the opening we get another anime original scene of Star and Stripe squad watching a live news report of the ongoing chaos in Japan after the large amount of prison breaks that occurred at the end of last season. I actually really like this anime original scene as it adds a bit more context to Star and Stripe showing up in Japan. There's then a scene taking place in a cave where some villains are hiding out in, including All For One. All For One talks to Spinner about his plan to have his international allies becoming more active. All For One also states how he knows of Star's incoming arrival and how he plans on stealing her quirk. He then tells Spinner it's time for him to make a move and support Shigaraki. We then pick up right where Season 6 left off, with Shigaraki intercepting Star and her squad as they arrive in Japan. Star and Shigaraki have a confrontation. We have this really nice up-close shot of Shigaraki's eye as he's pondering who or what he really is, as he hasn't been entirely sure of that ever since he woke up during the Paranormal Liberation War. Star then uses her quirk to create a vacuum of air where Shigaraki is standing, making it unable for him to breathe. We then get an explanation of Star and Stripe's quirk, New Order. New Order allows the user to give anything the user touches a new rule or attribute after calling out its name. Shigaraki uses his regenerative abilities to keep himself alive, while expressing his desire to steal New Order. Star orders her squad of fighter jets to fire their laser cannons at Shigaraki, all of which hit their target. This proves ineffective, however, as Shigaraki uses the quirks Reflect and Scatter to shoot the lasers back at Star, who then uses her quirk New Order to nullify the attack. Shigaraki then launches himself towards his opponent, and Star launches herself at Shigaraki and punches him square in the face. She then explains that with New Order, she can only set 2 rules at once. The first rule is constantly on her, giving her super strength. The second is whatever she chooses. We then get a flashback to the first movie, My Hero Academia 2 Heroes. It is actually revealed that Star was this girl that All Might has saved in the movie's opening flashback. That moment inspired Star to become a hero, and she even modeled her costume after him, much like how Deku modeled his original costume after All Might. We come back to present day. Star pins down Shigaraki, who is disgusted at All Might always being the center of it all wherever he goes. Star then uses New Order to place a rule on Shigaraki. The rule being, if Tomura Shigaraki moves from this place, his heart will stop. We then see inside Shigaraki's Vestige world, where it seems All For One is starting to form or merge with Shigaraki. The All For One inside of Shigaraki's Vestige world says that Shigaraki is progressing way faster than originally expected, and that they will soon meld together into neither Tomura Shigaraki nor All For One, but an entirely new person. Back in the real world, Shigaraki's heart has yet to stop, leaving Star puzzled as to why New Order isn't working on him. Also, Shigaraki's hair grows longer for some reason, and he blasts Star back. He concludes the reason New Order didn't work on him comes down to perception. You see, when Star used New Order on Shigaraki, she perceived him as Tomura Shigaraki, but that didn't work on Shigaraki because he himself isn't even sure if he's currently Tomura Shigaraki, All For One, or even Tenko Shimura. If Star uses New Order on a person with a sense of self, Star and her target's perception have to align, or else New Order won't work, which is why New Order is more effective against non-living objects. In other words, Shigaraki must perceive himself as only Tomura Shigaraki and nobody else, or else Star's New Order will have no effect. Star then requests her squad to contact Commander Agpar for approval to use something. Commander Agpar being a reference to Akbar from the Star Wars. Horikoshi loves his Star Wars references, and hey, this episode aired on May 4th. Star then uses New Order to create a rule that will shape the air around her into a shape 1,000 times her size, creating a giant air copy of Star. She uses this giant air copy to crush Shigaraki between her palms. She orders her squad to fire lasers at her, which she then uses the air copy to catch and use New Order on. She gathers the lasers into one and slams them right down on Shigaraki. That's when Commander Agpar contacts Star, telling her that her request has been approved, and approaching Shigaraki is a fleet of extremely powerful intercontinental missiles dubbed Tiamat. That brings us to the new Season 7 ending titled Flower Bud by Omoe no Take. The ending seems to focus on multiple characters like Shoto Todoroki, Himiko Toga, and Dabi, aka Toya Todoroki, and their past experiences that made them into who they are now. There's also a bit of Shoji and Uraraka thrown in there, with a bit of subtle Bakugo foreshadowing. In terms of the song Flower Bud, I like it much more than the opening, but there's still a chance I'll warm up to the opening as I usually do with My Hero. And for the preview of next week's episode, we pretty much just see the continuation of Star vs. Shigaraki, as well as a bit of Class 1A and All Might. Overall, this episode is a very good start to the season. I thought the anime original scenes, while unneeded, were not bad at all, and I thought the Star vs. Shigaraki fight has been adapted somewhat well so far. There are a few shots that look a little wonky, but there are also way more that look really good. I give this episode a 7.5 out of 10. But that is the end of my recap/review of this week's episode of My Hero Academia Season 7. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for sticking around, and that's all from me.